Well, Eric, uh, we weren't exactly sure what to expect, but we got it. We got something. We weren't sure if The Rock was going to turn heel. I don't know that we would necessarily say that was a heel turn. Maybe some of the best heel work, though, in movies, I've often said, is when the bad guy doesn't believe what he's doing is wrong. He believes in what he's doing. And clearly, The Rock feels like he's defending his family. Listen, if they aren't exactly sure how to get there, or they just want you to keep turning in the WWE programming, maybe they did it. What did you think of the execution of what we just saw?
I'm slightly confused. I like it. It's like a page in a story, a very important page. So almost, a plot twist, if you will. So in the sense that you want to have a press conference to heighten awareness and create emotion and engagement. I'd say this is a 10 out of 10 from a psychology perspective. From an execution perspective, it was a little off to me. I'm not sure what it was. I can't pick it out. I know they wanted it all to feel spontaneous. Sometimes spontaneous is hard to achieve.
Yes.
This didn't feel as spontaneous as I think it could have and should have. But that is such a small note that I probably wouldn't even give it in a production meeting. It's so small because the emotion that it created, at least it's starting to make sense. And just watching the YouTube chats as we were going here, it's like, oh, it's going to be a three-way. No, it's going to be a fatal four-way. It's going to be Seth and Cody against Rock and Roman. I don't know. Still a lot of options, right? I mean, was it more clear to you? Or are they just setting the stage?
I think they're just setting the stage. I mean, I kind of assumed that we would get some sort of elimination chamber announcement. Maybe we'll see that tomorrow at TV and on SmackDown, because we got to start getting ready for elimination chamber. I mean, I don't mind sharing the rumor and innuendo is that part of the deal for WWE to go to Australia is that they wanted The Rock. And Rock has been pretty open about saying they just couldn't get a deal done for him to be at WrestleMania the last 2 years because it was talked about. And he even said on College Game Day, I believe, it was supposed to happen last year. A lot of people think maybe the reason it didn't was, well, they just didn't give him the right offer. And if you know anything about mergers and acquisitions, you don't want to make any major expenditures right before something like that. And let's not forget, the TKO announcement was done the night before. And The Rock would have certainly been a major expenditure. Having said that, my man got $30 million last week. So he's probably down to fly to Australia. What would you do in Australia? Do you expect it to be Cody Rhodes versus The Rock at Elimination Chamber, or will we see something else there?
I don't know. I don't know.
The whispers are that Brian, who probably had his fingerprints all over that, as we understand, he handles a lot of Rock's creative. He's going to Australia. That's the rumor and innuendo. So you got to think The Rock is there. Would you prefer Rock versus Cody, winner goes to WrestleMania, or would you prefer maybe a tag match? I mean, don't get me wrong. In a perfect world, I would have loved to see Cody and Dustin against Roman and Rock, but that's not going to happen. So do you think Cody winds up finding an unlikely tag team partner in Seth Rollins, who was very much out there defending him? Is that what they do at Elimination Chamber? I mean, if you had the book, what would you do?
Well, those are two different questions. If I had the book, I might do one
You know
thing.
what? We got Triple H going right now. Let's lay out just for a second and hear what he's saying. Maybe we're going to get an announcement. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. So, Eric, we just saw a little backstage skit there. If we weren't sure, I think now it's made clear. Rock's a heel, but he's a heel who believes in what he believes. And once upon a time, we thought he and Roman were going to be adversarial, and maybe we'll still get there. But at least for now, and notice the positioning, Rock was out front, Roman was following behind. At least in that segment, Rock was head of the table. What'd you think of that little bit? Eric, you're muted, bud.
I'm still learning. I would say, Rock perhaps should think about a career in acting. I think maybe he's got a shot. He made it feel really believable. If you're a wrestler, if you're an aspiring wrestler, that's a perfect example of less is more.
Yes.
That what he didn't say in his body language said everything that needed to be said, and would otherwise taken 3 minutes and would have been verbose as hell. That was excellent.
Well, let's go ahead and let everybody know that we are going to be answering your questions. And I think there's probably more questions coming out of this than there were going in. If you've got a question, then by all means, ask it to Eric right now. We're going to try to get to all of the paid questions that are asked here. There's a bunch, but we're going to try to hit as many of you as we can. But we wanted to get some predictions from people who were actually at the press conference live. All of you watching along with us, you actually did what we did. We all just watched together the live feed, the live stream, whether it was on YouTube or Twitch or Peacock. But what about the folks who were actually in the building? I wanted to hear from them. Actually, this was Eric's idea. And our man, Dominic D'Angelo, the man behind the camera, you've seen him write for SE Scoops and some other sites in the past. He's also a member of our team here at our adfreeshows.com family. He caught up with some fans inside the arena, the T-Mobile Arena there in Las Vegas. And we want to get their take about what they thought about WrestleMania and this press conference.
I'm Luis. How are you?
All right. Hey, Luis. How you doing, man?
Awesome. Ready to get in.
Good, good. What were your expectations with the Cody Rock situation? Are you rooting for Cody? What do you want to ultimately have happen?
Cody needs to stop. I've never seen someone who wants to keep getting beat so bad. He can finish his story next year when Roman retires. Roman and Rock is the match. It's the big match. The Rock finally. All the fans, we want Rock. We want Rock. You finally got Rock. It's the match. It's the moneymaker. Hollywood Rock, Roman Reigns, Tribal Chief wins, of course. That's it.
That's it, man. Cool. What kind of expectations you have going into this? What was your whole thoughts on the Cody Rock situation? What do you ultimately want to see go down here?
Thoughts on the Cody Rock situation? I did not like it. I'm a huge Cody fan, and I really wish Cody had just, been like, yeah, I'm finishing the story, beating you, Roman. I wish he hadn't just stepped aside for The Rock. That being said, I'm really hoping that tonight we get a big announcement. Hopefully it's Cody versus Roman. I would love to see a WrestleMania come to Vegas. This is my hometown. I'm born and raised here. So I would love to see a WrestleMania in my hometown. It would be my first WrestleMania too. So that's what I'm hoping for.
What do you see The Rock playing out then if it's Cody and Roman at WrestleMania then?
Honestly, I could see The Rock fighting Roman in Australia at Elimination Chamber because that's, it's an international show. It's supposed to be a bigger event. That's a money match. I could see it happening at Elimination Chamber maybe.
Okay, cool.
So there you go, Eric. A lot of people were excited and had their different theories. I don't know that we actually know exactly what happened, but we certainly asked before the event. And, after the event, maybe people feel a little differently. People are talking about it over on Twitter. They're talking about it live here. We've actually done a poll result. Did The Rock just turn heel? Only 7% said no. Yes, but not in his mind was 32%, and 61% said yes. And Eric, we've often heard guys like The Rock say that, and even Steve Austin would say, that the best characters in wrestling are when it's the real you, just your personality turned up to 11. What'd you think of what we saw? Maybe if we think there's going to be a little Rock pushback, and certainly there was, and a movement for Cody, lean into it. That feels like what they did. Do you think he's a heel officially now or no?
Nope. I think this is a step. This is one page in the first chapter of the new Rock story in WWE. It's great, and it's it's Act 1. It's the opening chapters, first chapter. In my mind, just sitting here right now, literally talking out loud, thinking out loud, just reacting to what I've seen. Here's somehow there is a situation where Roman and Rock, let's call it a tag team. I see the four-way. They wouldn't have used Seth so prominently in those shots, particularly at the end, kind of getting his verbiage in. They would not have used Seth in that manner if they didn't have a plan for Seth in this scenario. As a result of that, I think it's going to be a tag of some sort. I don't know how it's going to be laid out, but I see it being a tag. I see, if it's a tag, if I'm right and it's a tag, I see Roman, because before I tell you what I see, what was it that brought Roman and Rock together? Friday night, it was way different, right? Monday, Friday, whatever it was. There was tension. They walked up. It was like the gunfight. It was like watching an old gunfight on Gunsmoke, where the bad guy comes out of the saloon at 12 o'clock noon. He slowly walks out into the street, takes one last drag off a cigarette, tosses it, backs up, and he slowly puts his hand towards his gun. Now the other guy, because the sheriff comes out, and it's that standoff. That moment where they walk so closely and deliberately together. That was to build the drama, establish the tension between the two. Now they're on the same team. What happened? What happened was family. The one thing that could bond Rock and Roman at this point is family. The fact that Cody came out and cast an aspersion at the family. Okay. And it was about pride. Your grandfather would be disgusted with you. That's all about pride. That, I think, is going to play into where this goes. I think Roman will resort to something so hideous and despicable that it actually would be despised by the family. They would actually be disgusted by it. Rock sees that. He remembers what his family is and what they represent to him and their legacy, and is embarrassed, for lack of a better term, by what Roman does. Rock sees the attributes in Cody, and eventually, I don't know how it comes together, but Rock acknowledges Cody for being right and for standing up for his family and doing it as a better man. That's the story I see, literally thinking out loud.
What do you guys see? We want to hear from you. What do you think they're going to do at WrestleMania? And as a reminder, if you've got a paid question for Eric, we're going to get to all of those here tonight on the program, all that we can. We've got a live reporter there on site, hoping to be able to still catch up with him. So stay tuned, but don't forget those questions. Keep them coming for Eric, and we'll try to hit them. And if you haven't already and you're joining us live, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell. We're going to be doing this more often anytime there's breaking news or a major show. One observation I had about what we just saw, and listen, I know this isn't going to be the popular opinion, but boy, it sure does feel like a lot of that alpha male head of the table bullshit became the little brother real fast when The Rock was there. And I wonder if that segment hurt Roman more than anyone. What say you, Eric?
Thinking about that, I don't think anybody got hurt here.
Well, I'm not saying he's hurt.
I see what you're saying. I mean, there definitely was a pack leader there.
If there was a winner in that segment, it was not Roman. Like, I mean, he was positioned as second fiddle behind Rock to me.
Yep. He did.
I don't think
he did get lost. He did get lost in the shadow. There's no question about it. I don't know how that he wouldn't in this scenario, given everything that has led up to this press conference, what we saw on Friday, what we saw on Monday, the awkwardness of all of that. And now I'll never know. We'll probably never know. No, actually, we probably will know at some point how this all came together and what the nuances that we weren't made aware of are. But that's in the future. For now, I think they made some great calculations. I think I'll go back to what I said early on 83 weeks. I think this is going to turn out absolutely fantastic for Cody, better than originally planned.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt about that. Let's do some of our questions here. John M says, for me, this is being set up as Rock in the Mike Tyson role. Cody doesn't need it, but Rock being the great equalizer feels like the direction. What do you see? Could you see The Rock as being the special guest referee for Cody Roman? Could you see him in the Mike Tyson spot?
That's another one.
Yeah.
I mean, it could happen, right? From an audience's point of view, what's Rock going to do? Is he going to defend the family honor, or is he going to call it down the middle? So there's jeopardy right there. There's jeopardy in the referee.
Absolutely.
So, absolutely could make sense. I'd certainly put that on the table for a vote.
John M, thank you for the donation. We greatly appreciate that. Rock Hard Joel Wood says, so let's get this out of the way. Is Cody getting Roman at WrestleMania? You say yes, don't you, Eric?
Yep, I do. One way or the other. I don't know how he's going to get there. There's a lot of options on the road, but on the road to it. But yeah, definitely.
Mick Mac, who is from Down Under, says he's going to be going to the Elimination Chamber and wants to know, which 83-week shirt should I wear at the Chamber? Eric, what shirt should he wear? I'm an Eric Bischoff guy.
Nah, Mucker Feather. Mucker Feather is one of those shirts. Yeah, we've got one. Have you seen a Mucker Feather shirt?
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm saying we need a I'm an Eric Bischoff guy t-shirt. Like, that's the way to go.
Well, yeah, because then it will stand out. My name will be in the crowd.
Yes,
we'll
yes. There you go.
Branding, Bischoff, branding. Learn about it.
Aunt Evans is helping us do some polls today on our live feed. Greatly appreciate all the Aunt's support and guidance today as we're trying to learn how to do lives here on YouTube. But he wanted to know, is Eric right? And no, it will be a single match, got 40%. No, it will be a three-way, got 26%. And yes, it will be a tag team, got 33%. Gonna be interesting to see what they do. I don't think anybody really knows at this point, but maybe that's what's fun about this. Everbrand says, hey man, give me the bloodline tree on a shirt or a poster. I think you'll get your wish. I think they'll both be up. And you can actually go ahead and check that out at shopsportsmerch.com. That's our special link where you can actually pick up WWE merch and support 83 weeks at the same time. Lentil Official says, do you think there's any possibility at all that there may be a fatal four-way between Seth, Cody, Roman, and Rock? I mean, listen, I guess there's no bad ideas in a brainstorming session, but I just don't see a fatal four-way at WrestleMania this year.
Why not? Why not?
I don't know. I think I mean, what would be the stakes, Eric? Like, if Cody pins Rock, what happens?
He gets Roman.
Well, it's a fatal four-way. Like, help me understand what that means. Roman's in the match. So if all four guys are in the match and they're all wrestling each other, but one guy doesn't have a title hold. Yeah. So
I'm already confused. Fuck. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
My man Jeff says, if you confuse them, you lose them. Ryan Purvis says, is Dustin still with AEW? If he is, would TK ever let him appear at Mania with Cody? Them coming out to Common Man Boogie would be memorable. It would be very, very memorable. I don't mind sharing. I've never told this story before, and we're all family here on 83 Weeks. You want some scoops? Here's some scoops. I pitched for Dustin to win the NWA World Title at Ric Flair's last match and tried every which way I could to make that happen. I wanted it to be a Jim Crockett Promotions night and make it special and make it memorable. And I thought it would be real wrestling history. Of course, we know that Dory and Terry Funk both held the NWA title. I thought, man, it would be cool if we could say that Dusty, Cody, and now Dustin have all been NWA champions. But the NWA did not want to do that. So we did not have the NWA title defended on the show, but I really wanted to do that at a JCP show. I would have loved to have seen it. And I even went so far as to inquire into holograms, Eric. I don't know if you saw, but a few years ago at Coachella, they brought back Tupac in hologram form. And I thought, if the night before, at the time, before Cody tore his pec, I thought Cody was going to win the world title at SummerSlam in Nashville. And I thought if the next night Dustin won the NWA title and we could have a hologram of Dusty Rhodes there, that'd have been pretty badass.
Oh,
it didn't happen. But that was the idea. As to whether or not Tony would allow that to happen. I don't see it happening.
That's chicken shit, by the way. That's chicken shit. Dixie Carter let it happen.
Well, Dixie Carter, okay, I hear what you're saying, but that was a Hall of Fame. That feels a little different than what this is. And was there a personal issue between Dixie and Rick? We know that Cody left AEW over a personal issue. So knowing that there's I'm just asking, would you let Vince Russo, come in and be a part of something you were doing?
Not the same under similar kind of framework or context. Sure. I mean, letting Dustin be a part of this isn't about anything other than being gracious to Dustin. This is an important part of Dustin's life too. He may be living it vicariously through Cody from a distance, but if there's an opportunity to let Dustin Rhodes share in this moment in any way, shape, or form with Cody, Tony should accommodate. And if he thinks about it,
Tony, first and foremost, is a wrestling fan, but you'd have to check a few boxes. I don't think Dustin, I don't know all the details, but I don't know that Dustin wants to go back to WWE. A lot of people leave WWE
just for the night, man, just for this.
No, I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying I would love to see it. Man, it feels like you gotta finagle some stuff to make it happen. I hope it happens. I would love for it to happen. I think it would be tremendous. Ryan H says Cody brought back the classic Intercontinental belt in his first run, praying to the ghost of Reggie Parks that we get a Winged Eagle variant if he wins. I've seen a lot of people who are belt nerds talk about that, Eric. They love the classic old school feel of the old championships. I know for sure that Cody loves the old Winged Eagle championship. That's one of his favorites. But the WWE logo being so prominent on the new belts, I mean, maybe he brings it back for a night or a show. And maybe they do it long enough to sell a bunch of new replicas. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe that gets us a Cody Rhodes version of that title that they could sell on the shop. But it feels like, by and large, they're going to lean into that logo being so prominent. No, it's a big branding piece.
What did that belt? Yes, I agree with you. What did the belt look like that Dusty held up when he thought he won it? Where is that belt?
It's in Dusty's. It's actually in Cody's house. Well, between us, I'm a belt nerd. That's not the belt Cody has is not actually, I don't think, Dusty's belt, but it's the version that was either right before or right after. But yeah, it is. It's a Malkovich belt. It's a 7-plater. I'm sure that in a moment, our crack producer Dave Silva will have found a picture of Dusty Rhodes holding that belt.
What do you think? What do you think of the belt? Is it a cool belt?
It's cool because it's old school, but it doesn't hit that nostalgia button that this audience that's about my age is really into. Like, they didn't make replicas of it. It's not, for lack of a better word, the Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart belt. And
well, my point is, what if my question is going to be, what if they made a belt based on that belt that Dusty held in his hand momentarily, but never really achieved? That becomes Cody's belt. That belt then becomes a collectible because it finished the story.
Yeah, I think they could definitely do it. By the way, we're hearing from one of our members of our team who helps us with a lot of our formatting on the shows, Mr. Derek Sabato. He says Brian Alvarez is saying it appears Rock and Roman versus Cody and Seth could main event night 1, and Cody versus Roman for the undisputed title as night 2 of the main event, and then Seth versus whoever wins Elimination Chamber. Honestly, at 51 years old, Rock in a tag match is a way better option. I know I felt that way when we were putting together Ric Flair's last match. We looked at 6-man options and wound up on a tag team option. And even Sting in his last match, it will be a tag match. I'm not suggesting for a moment that this is going to be Rock's last match. I do not think it will be. But I am curious, what do you think about that? That Rock might not even be on night 2, unless he's in an interference role, perhaps. And they do night 1 with Cody and Seth taking on Rock and Roman.
I see it. Again, it fits, right? Based on everything that we just saw tonight. It fits. It's a great option.
Dave Meltzer points out, so it's over. Doing a storyline of Rock being on the board and backed by Nick and versus Levesque. So no answers other than Cody is wrestling Reigns. And instead of Reigns versus Rock, it looks like it's Rock and Reigns versus Cody and Seth. So it feels like everybody thinks maybe they're not doing any of that stuff at Elimination Chamber. And it will in fact be night 1 of WrestleMania. Would you be surprised? I mean, if you had to pick an over under, let's take a look at the calendar here. How many television appearances, like in the arena, do you think Rock makes between now and WrestleMania?
How many weeks do we have?
I'm counting them up now. Just take a wild guess, I suppose, as to what you think. But we know in April we're going to have 2, and then of course in the month of March there's 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12. 13, 15. We got 16 televisions between Raw and SmackDown. Out of those 16, how many do you think we get?
Out of Rock?
Yep.
4.
I'm going to go under. I'll take the under on that.
16 weeks of television, 16 episodes of television. That's like 2 seasons of any other scripted show.
Yes.
You got plenty of runway to tell a lot of great story in a very short period of time.
Brian Solomon of PWI says they're planning something here, but there's no way they planned it this way from the start. No shit. We are watching frantic damage control in real time. Maybe they needed a psychotic old man scaring the shit out of everybody all the time. I don't know about that one. But goodness gracious, people are having fun with this. Let's do some questions here. Josh Henney, shout out to Josh, member of our little family over at adfreeshows.com, says, I absolutely love not having much resolution today. Does this feel like the old Nitro cliffhangers to get people to watch to find out?
Yeah, this was episodic television, folks. This was not a press conference. There was no announcement here. There was no definitive statement here. This is just a page in the first chapter. It's a good page. I enjoyed reading it or watching it in this case, but it is all it did was serve to advance story. That's it.
Mick Mac has pointed out that Triple H just posted Roman versus Cody at WrestleMania. Well, I'm sure our crack producer, as he's growing a third hand to figure out how to do this in real time, he'll throw that.
Doesn't have enough to do today.
In a minute. Shout out to Rob Hallett. Appreciate your love and your donation today. Thank you for being a part of what we're doing. Brian McCaddy says, could we see a tag match at Elimination Chamber with the winner, Rock or Cody, getting their match at Mania? Huge change with the crowd reaction. Yeah, I do think the Elimination Chamber has to be part of the story. We know Cody's going to the Elimination Chamber, Eric. What would you have him do there?
I don't know, man. There's so many options, and I have to sit down and think about it so long. I'm just not as fast as you. I just can't pull one out of thin air like that.
Well, let's pull another one out of thin air here. Hard Rock Joel Wood wants to know, how many episodes of those 16 does Roman appear in? I'm going to say 5.
I think he's going to have to be more involved. I'm going to go 8.
Oh, half. Here's a spoiler, boys and girls. Take the under on Eric's 8. Josh Humphrey.
Hey, you're not going to listen to me. You're not going to listen to me.
I love that. Josh Humphrey, appreciate your donation. Thank you so much for the love and all that you're doing for us here today. Robert Dowdle says, could Rock be the new authority figure that hasn't been portrayed in a long time? Man, I love The Rock, but I don't know that I want him as an authority figure. I mean, I would love to see The Rock on regular programming all the time, but what do you think about The Rock as an authority figure, Eric?
Nah. We'd see too much of him.
Yeah. Well said.
And then
it's not as special.
Yeah, he would love us too much. You'd get tired of it real fast.
We got the similar question from Josh Humphrey. Do you think we could see The Rock play the Vince McMahon corporate role? That's sort of the same thing. I just don't think he'll be the authority for that same reason you just laid out.
No. Hey, rumor has it we have Dom standing by.
All right. I love that. Well, you know what, boys and girls, we're going to get to some more questions, but let's go right to it. We've got Dom, who's live on the scene right after the press conference. Dom, you were there. What happened, man?
Yeah, it was a pretty an interesting sight. There was a lot of engagement. The crowd was super mixed for Cody and The Rock. I don't know how much it came across on television, but there was a lot of the crowd was on Cody's side, but then there was a good contingency for The Rock too, and it picked up even more at the end when it was Cody, when there was questions if Cody was going to be the guy or not. So the atmosphere was pretty wild.
Were people disappointed that it didn't feel like there was a real resolution at the end?
I didn't get that kind of vibe to it. I think a lot of the crowd, I think so in a certain way, because you kind of look at it and it kind of just dissipated. And I don't know how it was presented on television, but how it was, the crowd did kind of flatten out. Okay, is that it? Is that all we're getting, kind of thing? And that was the kind of aspect. And the Cody slap or Rock slapping Cody at the end did play well at first, but then like CM Punk was saying on the post show, there was no retaliation. So I don't know if that set him up very well or not. And then the comments that Punk made afterwards seemed to be pretty kind of pushing back, like Cody's got to fight back and stuff like that. So I'm curious where they're going to go with that, and if that's good for business, so to speak.
Did anything happen during the media questions? Did you participate? What was that like?
No, I didn't. They only did a select few, unfortunately. Depending on the wristband that you had, I was under the impression I was going to be there, but it was a select different kind of media. You had to have a certain type of wristband, and I had a floral one. So I thought it was tribal chief themed, so I was going to get in, but no, it's not. So
wow,
it didn't happen.
Select media. Wow, how about that?
Select media. Yep, very select media. ESPN was definitely there.
I wonder why you do a press conference with 350,000 people watching on YouTube and not take as many questions and as much media afterwards as you could. That seems weird to me.
Right, I was ready to go, but I was telling you guys off air, I had a whole list of questions set up for everybody. Basically, I wrote them all down and was ready to roll, and it just didn't happen. I was kind of surprised, but yeah. So be it, I guess. What are you gonna do?
Just so I'm clear, Dom, you don't live in Las Vegas, right?
No, I don't. I traveled from Pittsburgh because I thought I was going to get in for it. So no, it did not happen.
So you flew across the country for this and were not able to ask questions.
Correct. Yep, that's correct. Didn't happen.
How did that decision strike your other members of the media? Were people pretty pissed off about that?
I think, so there was some that went through, and they were said, like the PR team said that there was a select, amount, and a lot of people stood around and waited, and I just went up and I was like, hey, are we not getting interviews then at all? And they were like, no, sorry, and then that was it. So, yep, it was not. I don't know how everybody else was feeling. I was with a couple other people, and they seemed okay with it, and like they kind of were like, well, we tried. What are you gonna do? But I don't know. It was just the whole press release they sent out for the media in particular made you think that, hey, we're gonna get in there and get some stuff going. But yeah, didn't happen.
Do you think the hesitation to include the media, I know we're just speculating at this point, is that based on recent news with Vince McMahon or the pushback from Rock, or do you think it was an actual capacity issue, if you had to guess?
That's a really good point. I don't think it was a capacity issue. I think it was more so in lines with maybe what was going to be asked and what was going to be kind of conjured up there potentially. There was some main media outlets that certainly got in there and things like that. But I think there might have been maybe there was a little bit of both, because usually that does happen at sometimes, like with these, like they do have capacity problems at some of these shows that I've been to, particularly WWE. But this one, I'm sure, I don't think it was necessarily too much, because I've been in those press conferences before. So it didn't happen though this time. So.
Forgive us for asking this, but Eric and I were watching, with the sound off until it came to sort of the main event. Who got the biggest reactions and who maybe didn't get the biggest reactions from the live crowd?
Rhea Ripley got a huge reaction, really big time. I would say nobody really got a tepid reaction, to be honest. I think everybody got their star power across. I think Seth Rollins came out and he really engaged with the crowd. I really liked his body language that he conveyed throughout that whole thing, kind of staying off to the side. But I also think, you know, it didn't. Moving forward, it might not have positioned him in the best light, or that title in certain ways. But I think, yeah. But for the most part, I would say Rhea Ripley really knocked it out of the park with the reaction she got. People were chanting for Cody, like you guys probably heard and stuff. But and like Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, they both got pretty good pops overall. Everybody got a pretty well reception there. Everybody's happy to be seen.
So when people were exiting the building, you felt like by and large fans were happy with what they saw?
I think so. So the media lingered around, you know, so they cleared everybody out before everything else happened. So we all waited around thinking, you know, hey, we're going to get in. And so, but I'm not sure of how everybody kind of felt fan-wise when they left, but I think people were pretty satisfied. I did hear something that The Rock said something in the press, the post-media thing, that he will be wrestling still, apparently. So if you guys didn't hear that, that's some news there. But
I'm wondering, you know, as far as the actual setup and the execution of the press conference, was that what you expected? Because I have to admit, them being on a stage and there not being tables and a podium, I don't know. I felt maybe I was going to get more of that look and feel. Was this what you expected when you walked in?
I kind of expected it more on what you were visioning, like a podium and kind of that thing. And maybe, and yeah, certainly when I saw the whole setup of it, and then I was like, oh, they'll probably set more stuff up and it's just a stage. But no, it was just a stage. But yeah, I thought there might be opportunity to just get questions right there, even like not counting the interviews that were supposed to happen afterwards. But yeah, just straight up there. So yeah, I was a little surprised at how it was set up. I thought it was like, from a presentation standpoint, being there in person, the live visual perspective was very cool, and the stage looked cool, and like how they kind of portrayed the stars on certain ways when the, you know, Titantron behind them, for lack of a better word, that was cool looking. But yeah, I was overall surprised with how it was kind of executed. You know, it felt more like a huge pre-show in a lot of ways. I kind of got that vibe, you know, starting off.
We've seen some reports from both Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez. They believe night one will be a tag match with the four guys we saw on stage, and then night two would be Roman and Cody. Triple H has actually tweeted out the graphic. I don't know if you've seen that, but he's made it official that it is Rock and Roman in the main event. So I guess my question to you, being a journalist, if you will, what do you think Seth does on night two with his world title if it is a tag match on night one?
You know, they've been really positioning Drew McIntyre very well and heating him up quite a bit. And he's been kind of the ultimate heel in like the current roster as it stands right now. So I could definitely imagine them positioning Drew into that spot and then making that still feel pretty engaging. But then again, you run into that conundrum of like that title still feels lesser than your main title. And how are you going to make it feel that kind of big time? And that was kind of one of the questions I was going to ask Triple H was, hey, what do you think about officially making that lineage of the World Heavyweight title, the original Big Gold, and connecting it to this new one, recreating that lineage and stuff like that to kind of make it feel bigger than? But yeah, I didn't get a chance.
I know Eric's got some questions he probably wants to ask too, but I've just loved picking your brain here. Do you expect them to decide who's going to face Seth for the title at Elimination Chamber? Like whoever wins the men's chamber gets the shot against Seth?
I could see that definitely happening. Yeah, I think, and that would even position Perth to feel like a bigger deal and make it, you know, historical. Hey, a title shot is on the line here. So yeah, I would definitely assume that.
Eric, I want to have you an opportunity to ask Dom any questions. I know he was there, and we were here just sort of reacting. What questions do you have for Dom?
No, I mean, you guys have done a great job, and Dom, thank you so much for covering it and sharing what you saw there. I'm more interested, I guess, right now, just in the crowd. Is it a local crowd, do you think, or did you get a lot of people that just happened to be in Vegas for the Super Bowl, and hey, Rock's going to be there?
I think it was a mix there. Yeah, I think it was a mix, to be honest, because it was interesting. Those videos that I sent earlier about the fans, all those guys seem to be from Vegas, and their primary focus was they wanted a WrestleMania announcement for Vegas coming up, and that didn't happen unless they did it off camera there. So I think it was a good contingency. But to your Eric, I saw some Kansas City Chiefs jerseys there. I saw some San Francisco 49ers jerseys there. It doesn't necessarily mean they're not from here, but I think it's a pretty clear indication that it got a mix of a group of folks there for the most part.
No Taylor Swift sighting?
I wish. I did invite her. I sent her a DM and she hasn't responded yet, so I'm still
Yeah,
waiting.
you let her know that you were going to be busy at the press conference. You had a little bit of free time. She wanted to get a steak over at the Golden Steer.
Right. I think she was going to be over at Gordon Ramsay's place there or something too to try that out. I was like,
great
come on,
job,
we can
Dom.
upgrade a little bit.
Thanks for bringing some life to this thing. I appreciate you doing this for us, buddy.
Dom, tell everybody
You're welcome.
with everything you're doing.
Sure. So you can follow me on Twitter at Dominic D'Angelo. But hey, if you like what you're seeing, I do a podcast with Rob Van Dam, podcast RV. You go to rvdtv.com, subscribe to that, help us out. I'm trying to build that channel up. And then I also do a podcast with Greg Gagne and Magnum TA, Gagne Magnum. So we cover the weekly news. We look back at the history of AWA and Magnum's history in NWA and kind of tie it all together. Pretty cool perspective to get from that. And yeah, I got some more stuff on plate coming up here that I'm pretty excited. Am I able to say anything, Conrad, or should we?
I think you should make the announcement right now, Dom. Do it right now.
Okay. All right. So, guys, Rumor and Innuendo is coming back, and I will be the host along with Robert Karpelis. So we'll be doing a weekly Monday through Friday show on ad-free shows, and we'll be talking the news, the wrestling news, and making a PTI kind of format, something that me and Robert were both really excited about. So I'm looking forward to kind of joining him with that and picking his brain, and hopefully he can learn a little something from me too. So that's what's happening.
Daily news coming back, adfreeshows.com. It'll be on YouTube and everywhere you enjoy podcasts. It's starting on Monday. They're going to do that daily, Monday through Friday. Robert and Dom breaking down the news each and every day. Thank you so much for the time, Dom. I got to ask, are you sticking around for the Super Bowl or are you headed home to Pittsburgh?
I'm getting the hell out of here. I'm going to gamble. I set $100 aside to gamble. And then after that, I'm done. I'm leaving.
Any gambling advice for him, Eric?
Yeah, do you have any help?
Yeah, I do, actually, because I'm so prolific when it comes to gambling and betting. But here's what I would do is win, lose, or draw that $100, head on over to a nice hotel, sit at the bar, watch the ladies work the room. It's the best people watching anywhere in Vegas. You'll have a blast.
I like it. That's perfect advice.
It's on my agenda tonight. My advice would be don't spend the $100 gambling. Just head on over to the Golden Nugget, eat a steak at Vic and Anthony's, and go home happy to Pittsburgh. Thank you for all the time today. Thanks for making the trip out there. I greatly appreciate you taking the time to jump on with us. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, guys. Anytime. It's a pleasure breaking bread with you, too. So have a good one.
See you
Thanks,
soon,
everybody. And we appreciate Dom showing up and showing out for us. Be sure to catch him on Rumor and Innuendo. It's back this coming Monday. It's going to be daily news each and every day. You don't want to miss it. It'll be him and Robert. Man, the questions are piling up for us here. People are really wanting to know what you thought about all of this tonight, Eric. And Barat, who is always with us over on adfreeshows.com, says, were today's events a sign of how WWE will go even more mainstream now that The Rock is literally running the show? Does that mean he becomes a more regular on-air character?
Well, I don't think there's any. Hey, Brad, how are you, buddy? How's the world of cricket? Brad covers cricket like nobody covers cricket. Look, I think WWE is continuing to go even more mainstream. We've seen that. It's not new at all. Certainly not beginning with The Rock. It's been going on for a while. I think Nick Khan is going to have a lot more to do, and Ari Emanuel with the ability to exploit their resources when it comes to going mainstream. We're going to see more of The Rock. We will definitely see more of The Rock. How? Not sure. How much is he going to wrestle? Don't know. But I think Rock's going to be in our face quite a bit.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. We asked you guys on our poll, does Roman, Cody, Rock play out over both nights of WrestleMania? 75% of people say yes. Only 25% of the votes say no. So I guess that's going to be it. Old Damian Williams wants to remind us that Alvarez is saying Rock and Roman versus Cody and Seth night 1, then Roman and Cody night 2, with Seth versus the Elimination Chamber winner on night 2. So I guess those guys are pulling double duty. It makes me wonder what The Rock will do on Sunday night because, respectfully, I understand the idea that, hey, Rock in a tag match makes sense, but they got to do something with Rock on night 2. You don't want to bid him farewell on night 1. I mean, he's a big star. If you can have him on night 2,
you've got that, you've got that special referee depending on what happens in the match. If if something happens in that match that even Rock finds despicable and Roman embarrasses the family, Rock could possibly be motivated enough to take that special referee role, which would put put Cody in jeopardy, because you won't know which way the Rock would go in that scenario. So again, so many opportunities.
Let's rapid fire as many of these paid questions as we can, Eric. We're going to try to make everybody see a little love here. We'll start at the very beginning, Mr. Silva. I know we got a lot of catching up to do here, but Mr. Rick wants to know, how would you book this year's WrestleMania? Call it night 2. You still sticking with Cody and Roman? That's night 2.
Cody Roman have to be. Finish the story.
Daniel Trish says, did they paint themselves into a corner if they turn Reigns face after the bloodline falls? I don't think so. I think he can be heel or babyface. What say you?
I don't think they painted themselves in a corner at all. And I think if he turns into a face, great. I think he'd make a great face. He's been a heel for a long time. He's kind of walking a fine line anyway as far as his heel character goes. I think they're safe either way.
Kyle De Marino says Rock equals 99% name recognition. Cody is not known to general public like Hulk, Stone Cold, Cena. Public box office worth more than true fans' thoughts. Kyle, the tickets are sold out, so there's your box office. They don't make any more money if more people watch it on Peacock, but it does perhaps create more leverage. Yes, they're leveraging The Rock's name for WrestleMania. I think as long as he's on the show, it doesn't matter if it's for the title, right, Eric?
Yes, and also Cody is benefiting from all of this. One of the ways that Cody becomes known as well as Hulk Hogan and John Cena and Stone Cold Steve Austin, especially outside of the core wrestling audience, is association with the largest, most recognized movie star on planet Earth over the last 10 years. Come on, it's an opportunity for Cody. It's not a bad thing for Cody. Glass half full, Mucker Feathers. Come on now.
Furious says, what if Rock plays a Mr. McMahon-like character? He's the boss. This is The Rock's company, and whatever he says goes. I think they're doing that a little bit right now.
I think they're doing it a little bit right now, but it would get tiresome fast.
Alex says, Rock's 1,000th window, does it fit 1,000th win? Does it fit in here? He's at 999. Wow, I didn't realize that. He's at 999 wins. I didn't know that. That seems interesting. Yeah.
Who keeps track of all this?
Alex does, I guess. Shout out to you, Alex. I didn't know that. JG Peak 26 says, Eric, if you were stuck with this mess and put in charge of WWE Creative, how would you book WrestleMania? I think you laid out that earlier. Shout out to you, JG Peak. Greatly appreciate you joining us here today. Want to give a special plug for Talking Tomahawk, the Atlanta Braves podcast. You guys jumped on and joined us live. Thank you for that. Sam JC says, Rock versus Roman, Rock versus Hogan, or Rock versus Austin. What will be bigger? That's interesting, Eric. What say you?
I think Rock Hogan.
Yeah, I mean, that was
that was generational. I mean, that was, the old generation on his way out, the new generation really taking over. That just felt more, I mean, not that it was bigger, but I just felt more important, I guess.
How about this? Rock Austin was the biggest in the build. Rock Hogan was the best in the execution. That's what I
love that.
Wrestling with Respect says, if Cody wins the title at Mania, who would you book to be the first in line for a title shot? Now that is interesting, because when we talked about Sami Zayn last year, people said, okay, if he beat Roman, then what? Well, what would you do with Cody? If he gets his hand raised and he's the champ, confetti falls, the follow-up pay-per-view, who's the first challenger?
God, I don't know. I don't watch it close enough to have a feel for it. I don't know. What would you do? You watch a lot of it. You follow this a lot more closely than I do.
Well, it feels like Drew McIntyre setting himself up for a spot or shot.
Where's he at contractually, though? Is that not an issue?
I don't know what's real and what's not, bud.
Okay.
I don't know. But I'm just saying, hypothetically, if you were Drew, WWE has a lot of momentum right now. I'd stay put.
No kidding.
Yeah. Matt's Tube of You says, love the content, guys. Feel Eric is still one of the best minds in the biz. Does Disney, Fox, and WB streaming venture bode well for AEW? or are they still at the wrong end of the shooting gallery?
I guess if I was Tony Khan and I see a big streaming opportunity developing in front of my eyes, and I know that I can deliver 800,000 or 900,000 viewers on a regular basis, and perhaps at some point in the future stumble into a way to grow that audience, I would feel pretty good, because they're going to need content. Content is king. Tony, for better or worse, is providing that content. I would be optimistic. It's certainly not a bad thing.
Greatly appreciate Jedi Mind Trick 75. We hit your question before we went live, but thanks for the $10. Appreciate your donation. Same for Talking Tomahawk. We already covered, what we would do, but appreciate your love and appreciation here today. Angel says it's nice to get out of a 10-hour shift in the medical field and digress with you guys. Thank you. Just wanted to shout out. Well, shout out to you, Angel. Thanks for making time to bring us into your life today. 2 wants to know, Eric, what's the maddest you ever got while you were with WCW?
There's just no way I can categorize that. I think, the argument I got into with Eddie Guerrero, for me to get, that was borderline physical. I mean, I was building up to that moment. I was pretty hot. That would probably be it.
We're going to bounce around just a little bit here, just giving our heads up to Silva. Joshua Roman official says, how about Orton versus Rhodes? That was the AI feud that we talked about on 83 Weeks. We haven't seen Randy Orton involved in any of this. It is going to be interesting to see what Randy Orton winds up doing. Maybe he could be that great challenger for Cody on the other side. That would make sense.
Yeah, and as long as we're talking about family affairs here, remember that AI-generated storyline that somebody came up with as a result of listening to 83 Weeks? It was a story between Cody Rhodes and based on his family and Randy Orton and his family. And, you could come up with, it's a family affair type of season here. Maybe.
Throw that back up there, Silva. You just had a great comment about Triple H saying, based on what we just saw backstage, he thinks maybe Triple H winds up playing a role. Shout out to Joshua Roman for that. Maybe he winds up playing a role in this. That could be interesting.
I don't know that he's healthy enough to do it. He struck me as being that Dana White kind of character for WWE in that role.
Well, I don't know if you recall, but Vince McMahon played a little role in Montreal at Survivor Series 97. So maybe he doesn't have to be all that physical to still be involved in the story.
Ooh, I like it. That's fun.
Ismail Oliver says, I think they'll do a triple threat between Seth, Roman, and Cody. I think Triple H versus The Rock. How about that shit? Could you see that happening?
No.
I mean, one last match for those guys, one farewell. That'd be tough considering Hunter's heart issue, but that'd be wild.
Is he going to risk his life for it? I don't think so.
I hope not. Brian McCaddy says, oh, there you go. No, here, where I had that one. Brian McCaddy says, Rock either turns complete heel and takes Roman's side and assists like the rest of the family has, or Rock turns on Roman and installs himself as the head of the table. And they really do have a bunch of different ways to go with this, don't they? I don't think there's a wrong answer.
No, I know. You get vertigo just thinking about it.
Yeah.
There's one idea leads to another idea, and then you could do this, and then you do this. You're going to add this guy. You got Seth over here. You got Drew McIntyre coming out of the workroom. Hey, Gunther. Remember him? I mean, there's, again, we talked about it. This is the luxury / frustrating part of having so many great talents hot all at the same time.
We'll start running through some of the other shout outs. I just want to at least shout everybody out. I know we're winding it down. Some of you guys have been cruising with us for 3 hours today, and we greatly appreciate that. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, turn your notification bell on. The next time something crazy happens in wrestling, you're going to get a notification that Eric and I are live, and you're going to be able to ask Eric questions. Shout out to Pat in America and Hotel Whiskey. We also want to give a special shout out to Johnny Sage and Jim. Shout out to John Hayes, AGG. Want to appreciate you. The Tax Man, he was here and wanted to talk about Bryan Danielson and maybe draw some comparisons. Johnny Sage is reminding us that both matches are different stories and appreciate your donation today. Mick Mac says he wouldn't Rock taking Cody's WrestleMania spot turn him heel. I think maybe we saw that. Shout out to Micmac for being such a big part of what we did tonight. Appreciate all your interactive and engagement tonight. Mike Morgan, want to acknowledge you, and I hear you. He's saying to you, Eric, we need to get you to Waterloo. Yeah, Eric does belong in that Hall of Fame, by God. Shout out to Mr. Monster. He wants to know, what would you go back and watch for old time's sake on Nitro? Do you have a favorite Nitro, Eric, that you would recommend people fire up on Peacock?
I think the Disney episode when we had the backstage craziness and Rey Mysterio got lawn darted into the truck, that scene in and of itself for Nitro was one of my favorite scenes.
I want to mention, I'm shouting out everybody whose question we're not answering or we don't have time to answer because we just want to, for the sake of time, want to try to keep this around 3 hours. But at the same time, we are going to come back and ask those. We'll post it to YouTube. We'll try to hit as many of those as we can. Greatly appreciate you guys' support. This was really a test run for us, Eric, and I'm a little overwhelmed with the response and the support. We have, man, just an awesome group of folks here who joined us tonight, and I really appreciate them.
I was excited about this the minute you suggested it. I've been excited about it ever since. I woke up this morning thinking about it, preparing for it in my head because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how the flow would go, and I knew it would be awkward because we hadn't done it before. But I am so thrilled. I'm so committed to this YouTube experience. I want to do more of it, not just covering big events like these with you, but like you said earlier, anytime there's breaking news, what people probably realize about both of us is we're both a little obsessed with working hard and having fun. And if there's news breaking at midnight, Conrad, my phone's always on. Hell, we'll go live. We'll break shit as it happens. It's so much fun. And to have this interactive capability, be able to go back and forth with fans and answer the questions and react, see some of their great ideas. I've seen some great ideas on YouTube as far as ways to finish this. There's some great thinking out there, and it's fun to watch it.
Be sure to keep up with us on social media if you haven't already. At 83 Weeks, he is at eBischoff. I am at Hey, it's Conrad. I want to give a shout out to The Last Dragon and Mark Webster and Johnny Jones and Stephen Tate and Jay Wright. Appreciate the $2, even if I am a sleaze, as you say. Tom McKehee, also shout out to Yes, This is Vic. A shout out to Daniel and John and Tom and Connor and Bid Moon. And my goodness, man, I'm overwhelmed with the support tonight. Shout out to Ryan and Vinyl Daddy and Greg Jacobson, Scott. Man, we could go on and on and on. The questions just keep coming, Eric. You're a hit on YouTube, man. This was fun. This was an overload, a sensory overload for me, but I'm looking forward to doing it again.
All right, my man. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm sure you're going to be on the horn with a couple of people that we both know and are excited about. So keep me in the loop, dude.
I have 160 unread text messages right now.
Holy balls!
It's going to be a fun follow and a fun ride. And we should also mention that we are still going to archive these questions and get to as many of them as we can. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, turn the notifications bell on. The notifications bell will tell you next time we're live. But we will also try to knock out as many of these questions as we can in the coming days right here on 83 Weeks. And stay tuned. Eric and I will be back Monday morning with a brand new episode. And if you liked being interactive, you liked being a part of the live studio audience, we do this for our regular podcast shows, 83 Weeks, over at adfreeshows.com. Not only that, but you get a ton of bonus content, including one of my favorite things that we do. It's called Eric Fires Back. And there's a bunch of those in the archives where I played old shoot interview clips for Eric, and he shreds them like a head of cabbage. It's all happening at adfreeshows.com. Join us there, and thank you so much for all the love and support. Tell a friend about your new favorite YouTube. It's 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff.